There's a coat by your door you didn't have to kill anything to make. There's food in your kitchen. Now, take all of that away. Just your bare skin, and a winter so cold it could kill you in your sleep. That used to be normal, not for one bad season, but for hundreds of thousands of years. Your ancestors lived through real ice ages, where giant sheets of ice covered whole continents. Every one of them lived long enough to pass life down to you. Which means every single one of them won a fight against winter they couldn't afford to lose. So, how did they do it? How does a soft, hairless animal that grew up in the African heat survive? The coldest weather this planet has ever thrown at a human? That's what I want to show you. Because it's one of the best survival stories we have, and almost nobody knows how close we came. Let's be honest about what they were facing, because winter makes it sound like a cold afternoon. It was nothing like that. The last ice age was worst around 26,000 to 19,000 years ago. Ice sat on top of Europe, Asia, and North America. The land was flat, frozen, and open, with nothing to stop the wind. Trees were hard to find. Food vanished for months at a time. And humans just aren't built for that. We come from warm places. Our bodies still act like it. We don't have thick fur like a mammoth or a fat layer like a seal. We can't slow our heartbeat and sleep through the cold like a bear. Take a person's clothes off in real cold and they've got hours, not days. The body shuts down and that's the end. The animals around them were made for the cold. Mammoths had fur and fat. Cave bears could hibernate. Reindeer could just walk far away. Humans had none of that. On paper, we should have been one of the first things to die when it got cold. Wrong body, wrong place, worst possible time. But we had a brain that could plan, and hands that could build the things our bodies were missing. That turned out to be enough. Just barely. There wasn't one trick that saved us. It was a whole pile of them. And each one fixed a problem that would have killed them. Here's how they actually pulled it off. It started with fire. Nothing works without fire, so that's where it begins. Humans had been using fire for a very long time, at least 300,000 to 400,000 years. By the Ice Age, fire wasn't a nice extra, it was the whole thing, and they were good at it. People digging up Ice Age fire pits in Ukraine expected to find rough little fires. Instead, they found carefully built fireplaces, and one of them had burned at over 600 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. When wood ran low out on the open land, they burned fat and bone instead. Fire gave them heat, cooked their food, hardened their tools, and added hours of light. When the sun barely came up. Then they learned to carry warmth with them. The problem with fire is you can't take it everywhere. Step away from it, and the cold is right there. So humans did something no other animal could do. They took the warmth off other animals and put it on themselves. At first it was simple, skins thrown over the shoulders. And here's a wild fact. People were skinning bears for their fur in Northern Europe. At least 300,000 years ago. We know because of the cut marks left on the bear paw bones. Right where you'd cut to pull a skin off clean. Those bear hides made wind and waterproof cloaks. But a loose skin leaks heat through every gap, And that's not enough for a real ice age. The fix showed up around 30,000 years ago, and it's so small it sounds silly. The sewing needle. A thin piece of bone or ivory with a tiny hole drilled through it. One scientist called it maybe the most important invention in human history, and he's got a point. The needle meant you could sew fitted clothes, sealed seams, layers, sleeves that closed at the wrist. A blanket on your shoulders and a coat that fits are two very different things. And the needle is what turned one into the other. Early modern humans may have had better fitting clothes than Neanderthals did, which might have helped our kind through the worst of it. They didn't stop at fur either. Deer hide cut the wind and stayed soft enough for mittens and waterproof boots. And before heading out into the cold, hunters would rub animal fat, called tallow, over their faces and necks. It sealed the skin, held in heat, and stopped the wind from pulling warmth away. Out on the bright snow, there was another danger most people forget about snow blindness.
So northern hunters carved thin slits into bone or wood and tied them over their eyes. The little slits cut way down on the glare.
The first sunglasses, basically, made of bone. Everyone pictures cavemen hiding in a deep cave. The truth is better than that. A lot of these people built their own shelters. Out on the cold land in what's now Ukraine and Russia, there were no caves and barely any wood. So they used the one thing lying around everywhere: mammoth bones. At a site called Mezirich, people found round houses made almost entirely from mammoth bones and tusks. Skulls and big leg bones went into the ground as the base. Ribs and tusks curved up to make the frame. Many winter homes had a cold trap doorway, with the door dug lower than the sleeping area. Cold air is heavy, so it sank down into the entrance and stayed there, while the warm air rose up to where the family slept. They figured that out tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote down how it works. The deadliest thing our ancestors ever faced is now something we complain about on the walk to a warm car.